Well, we spent the last 2 weeks slowly working on getting this entire greenhouse planted, and I think we finally have all of the plants that I started in the ground. We also have a few things out here in some grow bags and some pots. Some of them are planted, some of them are just the rocks from when we were kind of sifting everything. But I figured we'd kind of walk through, take a look, and just kind of show what we have. Maybe I can remember what they all are, maybe not, because I kind of just everything scattered. And then also then we can kind of see the progress and what it does at the end of the year. So right outside of the greenhouse, these are some of the buckets of rocks that we're gonna have to figure out where exactly we want to put them. But in some of these grow bags, I have a lot of winter squash planted. So most of them are pretty small right now. And of course, this one's just a bunch of sunflowers. So there are some other things in the mix. That's just weeds. Ignore that one. And then we've got some others over here. So these ones are all things that are going to vine and kind of spread out, that eventually I want to be able to kind of move out here once we get this all cleaned up. So I didn't want to plant them in the ground. I wanted to plant them in something that was movable. So that's why these are in here. And then I also don't have to water them as much because the rain will do the job for me. So that's what we got outside. On this end, we've got a pot of hopefully some rhubarb starting and some horseradish starting. And then again, a few more flowers. So a couple sunflowers right there. This is supposed to be a giant sunflower, so I'm really hoping that that becomes giant. And then I think we have some zinnias in this one, which, let's see. That's not what it is. Nope, that's not what it is. Oh yeah, so these are going to be white. These should be white zinnias, so I'm excited to see those grow. And then here is our overview inside. So to start, lining the door, we've got some peas over there and some peas over here, just because those are my favorite snacks. I kind of wanted them right away. And then the idea that I went for are short things on this side, tall vining things in the middle, and then short things on this side again. And then I tried doing things that I thought would appreciate either some shade from the tall things in the middle, or maybe would like it a little bit cooler. And then over here, more like actual summery, hot weather type stuff. So that's kind of the main idea I went with. So right away at the beginning of this greenhouse, we have a lot of plants started that I didn't actually start myself. We had a viewer who was willing to start them for us. That way they could kind of get a head start and be a little bit further along, since I was giving birth at the time that I kind of wanted to start a lot of these things. So on this cool weather side, we have some beets, celery, and then cabbages with a couple cauliflowers right here. So they started those for us. And then on the reverse side, we have some peppers right here. And then way in the back in the middle, they also started us some tomatoes. So those are the things that we were able to pick up kind of pre-started, which gave us, a chance to actually get some of these foods. And then kind of what I did in between everything. So everything's planted pretty close. I'm just going to see how much I can push that. But we kind of have different herbs and flowers kind of zigzagged along with the cabbages and such. And then at the end of the cabbages here are those greens that I started in the milk jugs. So I think this is some Ragged Jack kale, mustards. This is like that red. I don't remember everything. There's just another kale and then a green. And then my lettuce that I started didn't do super amazing. It's really hard to see because the purple ones started way better than my green varieties. So probably just have some old seed, which is fine. And then right here we just have some bunching onions that I just started from seed. I didn't think I'd have time to do actual like bulbing onions, but I had a packet that was a little bit older of these bunching ones, so I figured it was a good time to use it up. And then we're just going to kind of see how I like the spacings, where some of these I put by themselves and some of them I actually like bunched them together in clumps. So we'll see how that works. And then next down the line, these are called dar cucumbers. I'm pretty sure that they are like a bush cucumber, and then a pickling cucumber kind. So they're supposed to stay pretty small and compact. They're not supposed to vine everywhere. So these dark cucumbers weren't really my favorite when I grew them before. But my philosophy this year is don't really know how we're going to do with the garden with just the type of ground and stuff. So all of those seed packets that I have that are really, really old or only have like 1 or 2 seeds in them, we're just going to use it all up. So that's why we are planting those cucumbers. Then after those, we've got a couple of squash. Again, I don't know exactly what kind. I think one of them might be like a yellow zucchini and another one might be a scallop. So both just like a bush summer squash. And then the last 4 are Boston pickling cucumbers. So I will have to try to figure out some sort of like twine crisscrossing and see how I can get these to trellis, maybe up along the roof, tie onto some of these bars. And then we have our first dead space right here. I'm not sure what to fill it with yet, so if anyone has any suggestions, let me know. I do plan on going back through some of my seeds and kind of figuring out what I might be able to kind of sprinkle in. And then on the end here, we've got some beautiful garlic chives and then some onions right here that come back year after year. These I picked up from a neighbor. She let me come and kind of dig off a couple sections of what she had growing. So I'm super happy that both of these survived the winter, along with our strawberries. So there's a little board right here. This section, that same neighbor let me come and dig up as many as I wanted. And then this section are like the 3 plants that I ended up buying last year. So these ones are a lot smaller. But it does look like everything's got flowers on it. So that's really exciting. I am so ready for strawberries. And then at the very end right here, I have 2 containers that I planted some carrot seeds in. So I'm gonna have to make sure I keep those pretty wet. I don't think there's even a chance. Yeah, there's not a chance any of that's up yet. I think carrots take a long time to kind of pop up out of the ground. So I'm going to make sure I keep those nice and wet and just kind of see how long that takes. We've got probably 3 or 4 different color varieties in there. Some yellow, orange, purple, I think a red. So we'll see how those go. And then this is the back side of our center aisle. We've got a pretty good amount of some tomatoes. So as you can see, I'm going to try out a few different staking methods right away. I went down and I found some trees along our driveway that we kind of wanted to thin out. So I went down there, cut a few, found some different thicknesses in diameter and then also some different heights just to kind of see what I'm looking for. And I think I'm going to go with this one, which is a little bit skinnier, but also taller. This one ended up just being way too short. So that's what we're going to do with that. But then I also have a couple T-posts that I might throw in there. And then we also have some used tomato cages that I threw over. I think I only had one. Yeah, I only have 7 tomato cages. So I'm going to have to go cut down some more trees, take the limbs off, and then I'll be able to finish staking the rest of these. Although they all need to grow a little bit bigger before I can actually stake them. So they're looking a little sad right now, but they'll get better. Irie, can you not walk on everything, please? One thing about me is I like to grow the things that people say I probably won't have good success growing. So we've got some corn right here. I have 3 different types of corn, but they're all a miniature like popcorn variety. So I think I might have the order wrong, but I think this first section is like a multicolored one. And then the middle section is a mini blue popcorn. And then the last section is like a mini red strawberry popcorn, I think is what it's called. So we're going to see how these go. If they cross-pollinate, I don't really care. I just think it's kind of fun to try them. And then I took back one of these main center posts that we used in the winter to kind of support the greenhouse. And on either side of it on the ground, I have some cucumbers that will grow. And I'm just going to see how well I can get them to kind of wrap around this post. I might have to add extra twine and stuff to hold them up, but I just kind of want to try it out. So that's what we're going to do. On the other side of this post, these all decided to plant themselves here. So while I was messing around trying to get this have it dug down into the ground a little bit so it's really in there, it won't fall. But while I was in the process of doing that, I accidentally knocked it over and it hit a tray of seedlings that I had over here, flipped it over and threw them over the corn. So I kind of picked through and just kind of poked as many of them into the ground as I could find. So most of them are flowers. I think we have 3 or 4 different colored zinnias in there. But we also have maybe, that's a weed. Like these are chia seeds. And then I think this might be the only one that survived the flip because it's a little bit smaller, but I think that's a sesame seed just because I really like to try different things that are super fun. Then right here, we've got just 6 sunflowers. These ones I'm trying out, putting them just directly into like this is honestly just like matted roots is what this top layer of dirt is. So I kind of poked holes in them and kind of put the 6 sunflowers because they're supposedly supposed to grow pretty well in some rough ground, and we'll see how they go. If anything, if they die or it doesn't work, right here will be a good spot for me just to kind of pop over to the other side. So if anything, that's what we'll do. Then we have the start of our dog kennel, I guess, teepee panels. So this is from an old dog kennel that we used to have. And then I decided that this was probably a pretty good way to get some really easy trellising. So that's kind of how we're going to use that. On this first one, we've got some like noodle beans. I have red, green, and then Thai soldier, which is like a speckled. So we've got 3 different colors of noodle beans that are hopefully going to grow up in here. And again, I might need to get some twine on top of all of these so that they have more length to grow up. But this is a pretty good start. And then underneath those containers, those lids, I just kind of planted some radishes. So I sprinkled the seed, put a little bit of dirt, watered them in well, and then I just kind of put those lids over to try to trap in the moisture just a little bit more until they sprout. But they have not sprouted yet, so that's why they're still sitting there. Then the rest of these, I don't have anything down the middle. So I could potentially plant things in the middle somewhere. I just don't know what yet. And then they're spaced out enough that I can kind of zip over the other side down there. So let's see. This first panel, without anything planted in the middle. Ooh. So on this whole panel, these are all Kajari melons. Then right next to the Kajari melons, we have cucumbers. So I was trying to kind of change it up a whole bunch. So on these ones, we've got Armenian cucumbers on this side, which I think get really long and they're pretty big. And then on the other side, we have lemon cucumbers that are really small, kind of just looks like a lemon. They're yellow. Then I have the rest of our peas. So these are, every single pea that I have growing are just sugar snap peas. Then on this last trellis, I've got melons again. So on this side, we have Minnesota midget, which is kind of like a cantaloupe. And then on the other side, it's Benny Kadima. Can't remember exactly what it's called. It's like Benny something, which is a small watermelon. So personal sized melons right here. It isn't ideal, but they're mixed hot and sweet peppers. I'm not 100% positive which ones are placed where on the line. So we'll see. We'll see once they grow, and we'll see how bad if they cross or not. But it's a mix. Mostly, I think, are sweet with a few hot ones kind of sprinkled in there. I think I did my best to put the hot ones on the very end. So I think, let's see. I can't tell if I'm pointing in the right spot or not, but I think somewhere on this end of the peppers is where I put the hot ones. We'll just have to see what happens when they pop up. So this one is dying, so we're gonna have to put something else there or just leave it as an open space. Then right here are my poppy flowers, which really aren't doing that good. I did not water them for a while, so they struggled. And honestly, a lot of the things that I tried growing shortly after giving birth are probably dead. So, you know, I kind of expected that might happen. I just picked them out of the containers, plopped them in the ground, kind of pushed them around. So there are a couple, and we'll just have to see if they actually come up or not. I'm kind of thinking it's just a wash and we're not going to get any of them, which is kind of sad. I do really like poppy flowers, but we'll just try again. We'll just try again next year. Then we've got some green bean varieties. These are all bush beans right here. If I remember right, we have a small section of Contender, which is just a green bean. And then we've got golden butter wax, which is yellow. We've got royal burgundy, a nice purple. And then we've got dragon tongue, so it'll be kind of like speckled purple and green. So I like experimenting with different colors. I don't like everything to be the same. I find that a little bit boring. So we've got 4 different varieties right here. Okay, at this point in planting, I had been kind of just randomly grabbing from rows of seeds that I started with only 1 label per row. So I have a couple squash that I didn't remember if it was in a row of 4 or a row of 2 and kind of stacked. So I didn't have a clue what kind of squash these are. I don't know if they're vining or if they're summer squash or winter squash. I really hope they're bush summer squash because that's how I'm planting them in here as. So right here, we have 2 mystery squashes. And we'll just kind of all have to wait and see what they come up as. This last section, I only have things on the very back side. And basically in between the 2 middle bars, I have a different kind of something. So in this first section right here, we've got honeydew melon. And I've got a few different plants, and we're just going to once again have to try to figure out how to trellis them up. This next section we have, I think it's called Israeli melons. So those are right there. Then I swapped it around and we've got a squash again. So these are lemon squash. They're a type of summer squash that I think vine, from how I understand it. So if they end up bushing, whatever. But I'm going to try to see if we can get them to kind of climb up because that's what I believe they do. After the squash, we have a single Tigger melon plant. So this one is right in line with the metal post. I only have one of those that popped up out of all the seeds that I had. And then again, in between these two, we've got 2 different kinds of squash. I'm not 100% sure how to pronounce this one. Rampicante. It's like a zucchini. I'm pretty sure they get like super, super big. So I want to try those ones out, and they do vine. So we're going to let them go up and figure out how to trellis them. And then after these 2 squash, we pretty much have nothing else all the way down. I have a few things planted just in some pots. We have a hole in the plastic right here, so we've been letting it just drip just to get a little bit of extra water. These ones right here, I think are an orange hat tomato. So they're really small. You can see the little tiny flowers on there. So I put 4 of them in this pot a little bit closer together, see how well they do. And then I have just a single one right here. So these are little tiny cherry tomatoes. Got storage of some things. This is our grape plant that we bought. Didn't do anything with it because we just ran out of time. Things happened. And we are just trying to see if these are actually going to survive. So these little buds have been showing up and they have been getting bigger. So we might have half of one branch alive. So we'll have to see how this guy does. Fingers crossed on it. And I foresee us getting a new grape plant in the future. Now, these, this grow bag of beans is for drying. So they're a bush bean variety, the Calypso bean, which is, I think, super pretty. They're black and white, kind of look like orca whales. So these are not to get picked and eaten. They're way back here off on their own, so we don't forget that we just need to basically water them, let them be a plant, and just leave them be because we want those beans to actually dry on the plant. So that is pretty much everything in the greenhouse right now. Like I said earlier, kind of scattered in between all of those different types of plants. I have just random flowers or random herbs. But otherwise, it's looking pretty good. And I know for a fact that it's going to grow a lot faster than I think it's going to. I planted some of these and then I left to hang out with some family for a few days. And when we came back, just a few things that I planted got really big. So I'm excited to kind of catch this really, really early on. And then, you know, I also still have some view like right here on the end. I don't have anything planted there and over on that side. So know if you guys have any ideas of things that maybe would be good for me to try planting. It's a little bit later in the season, so it has to be short growing, but it's going to get a lot of sunlight, so maybe it'll grow a little bit faster then. But so let me know if you think there's anything that I'm missing. Yeah, I'm excited to see how it does this year. Also, side note, I should say that today is June 7th. So this is what it looks like as of June 7th.